Okay, welcome. Welcome to the special town board meeting, the public hearing meeting, November 4th, 2021. Our agenda is the matter of request to adopt the budget. This is a public hearing on the 2022 budget. So you please all join me at the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call. Councilwoman Freeman.
Present.
Councilman Perdicone.
here.
Councilwoman Romeo.
Here.
Councilman Weiner. Attorney for the town.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, well, thank everyone for being here. I just want to just say a couple of words before we get started here, just some rules and when we go through our hearing here. We are here for a hearing on the preliminary budget. We have a large number of people signed up to speak, and it appears there are even more people in the audience. To ensure that everyone who wishes to testify has a chance to speak, I want to establish a few ground rules before the hearing. Before testifying, please state your name and your address for the record. The purpose of the hearing is to receive feedback on the preliminary budget, which the town board approved October 27th. Please limit your testimony to the preliminary budget. To ensure that everyone gets a chance to be heard, we will limit testimony to 5 minutes per speaker. Please be courteous to your neighbors and limit your comments to 5 minutes. Witnesses must be called in order shown on the sign sheet. Please do not interrupt your neighbors, but instead wait for your turn to speak. Witnesses will not be heard until recognized by the supervisor. Please wait until given the floor before speaking. The purpose of the hearing is to receive feedback. Please do not interrupt your neighbors, and please direct your statements to the town board. The town board is here to listen to your feedback, not necessarily to express its own views or opinions or debate questions. If you are in favor or opposed to the preliminary budget, please tell us with your reasons why. So we will get started. First up I have is Paul Stack.
Paul Stack, 51 Rock Beach Road, 14617. Thank you for this opportunity to speak. I am a member of the Irondequoit Commission Advancing Racial Equity, otherwise known as ICARE. We meet at least 2 times per month to consider ways we can review, identify, develop, and make recommendations about town policies, procedures, practices, and programs seeking to build and grow a more equitable community. As a group of volunteers, we need assistance in gathering information, coordinating schedules, making calls, and other tasks to fulfill our mission. To my understanding, that's why the town budget of 2021 had a part-time paid position to support this work. The preliminary town budget for 2022 does not have this position to my understanding. I did have a moment to examine the document, the 2022 preliminary budget, and I did not even see a part-time position listed under the supervisor's budget area. I did see something called Constituent Services Coordinator, and I heard something last Wednesday about using that position to fulfill the work of a helper with ICARE, but I don't know what that means. The person who has this position right now attends our ICARE meetings. That person does all the coordinating that we need. I'm only left to guess why this position, this part-time position that has existed in 2021, is not in the 2022 preliminary budget. The work of ICARE has not stopped. Who will do this work? It is not clear to me. Is the idea that there isn't this work needed to justify this position? Again, I don't know. I am left wondering. I call on the town board to reinstate this position in the 2022 budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Leslie Harvey?
Good evening, everyone. Leslie Harvey, 85 Green Lawn Drive, here in the town of Arundecoit, 14622. And I would first like to take this opportunity to applaud the efforts of Councilwoman Freeman for her bravery, being willing to take an unpopular stance, being met with hostility and being ostracized, when she always strives for honesty and transparency in town government, when that is not always the norm. Most recently, during a budget meeting, Councilwoman Freeman discovered that the part-time clerk position, which supports iCare, was cut from the 2022 budget with no apparent reason given. While attending the October 26th special town board meeting, departments within our town were called upon to give their budget reports and requests for 2022. First up was the library, which was presented by the president and secretary of the board of trustees and the library director, Greg Benoit, and they asked for an additional $6,000 to cover costs for promotion, I believe, and a 7% overall budget increase over 2021. A few clarifying questions were asked and no other concerns were raised within the request. Next up are the police department, as presented by Chief Alan Laird, sharing information about plans to hire 10 new officers over the course of 2022 as some current officers retire. 3 new police officer salaries now are being funded by the American Rescue Plan Act, and overall, our police department was asking for a 6.9% budget increase for 2022. Well, once again, a few questions were posed by council and no fiscal opposition was posed. Here's my concern. When Councilwoman Freeman shared her dismay regarding the part-time clerk position, which supports iCare being cut from the 2022 budget with no rhyme or no reason, the whole tone of the room changed. We quickly moved from a spirit of cooperation and collaboration to hostility and disrespect. Ladies and gentlemen, I beseech you as leaders, as our great town, to work diligently to create equity and inclusion where each member of our committee or our community is respected, valued, and cherished, regardless of their race, ethnicity, religion, or cultural identity. We, as members of iCare, will not sit idly by and allow some town leaders to take away the necessary administrative support we need to keep iCare flowing, nor allow what appears to be a textbook case of systemic and institutional racism by allowing it to rest, rule, and abide in the running of our town government here in Arundecoit. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Courtney?
Thank you.
I'm not sure what your last, so just.
Courtney Schaus,
Schaus, okay.
101 Covington Road, 14617. Dear members of the board, my name is Courtney Schaus. I was here last Tuesday and Wednesday night, and I'm here tonight speaking as an Arundecoit constituent and a participant on one of iCare's work groups. Our government as leaders should be role models for fostering a culture of diversity, equity, and inclusion. But after witnessing the disrespectful, condescending public treatment of Councilmember Freeman by fellow members of the council over 2 sessions last week, coupled with the proposed $18,000 cut to funding that directly impacts and undermines the continued success of iCare and effectively removes a black-held position from our government, in addition to the lack of BIPOC representation in our schools, police force, and in the individuals employed by our town, I no longer trust that the town is genuinely committed to taking a leadership role in helping the community at large combat racism in all forms, as stated in the proclamation issued by the town board of the town of Arundecoit on June 19th, 2020, and declared on October 20th, 2020. It is in this proclamation that the board declares it is an organization committed to anti-racism in practice and through its policies, and wishes to develop policies, procedures, practices, and programs that aim to overcome systemic and structural inequities. It is in this proclamation the Town Board declares its commitment to providing administrative support for iCare and intends for this commission to be a sustainable agent of positive change for the town of Arundecoit. Each of you sitting on the council tonight signed this proclamation. Have you forgotten your pledge of support? Did you think this commission could fix systemic and structural inequities in time for you to cut administrative support in the 2022 budget when we as a country have been feeding the cycle of systemic oppression for over 400 years? I am deeply concerned with our town's inability to acknowledge that systemic racism exists and thrives in our community, and with our town's inability to take responsibility to interrupt the cycle of systemic racism that runs deep in all of our town's institutions. The work of iCare, established during a global pandemic and in the wake of the murders of George Floyd and Daniel Prude, is just beginning and is crucial if we are to become a community that embraces its growing diversity, is inclusive to all, and treats every resident in an equitable manner. If you truly intend for iCare to be a sustainable agent of positive change, you cannot devalue the mission of the commission and the passion, experience, and intelligence of stakeholders throughout the Arundecoit community who make up its membership by dismantling our resources and publicly displaying contempt for our chairperson and for the work we are trying to lead. iCare deserves the part-time administrative clerk position we have been given, as promised in that proclamation on Juneteenth in 2020. And the individual in this position should continue to maintain her employment with us, as undoubtedly, in addition to her professional expertise, her lived experience have greatly informed the work we are trying to do and have contributed to the advancement of iCare's mission to advise the Arundecoit Town Board on how it can work to make Arundecoit a community where each individual is respected, valued, and cherished regardless of their race, ethnicity, religion, or cultural identity. From attending the sessions last week, I understand that the town has found money to hire 3 police officers. So again, this week, I say, if we can do this, surely the town can find money in its 2022 budget to keep a part-time clerk position that will help the town stay accountable to fostering a more diverse, welcoming community. The town and its leadership must honor their commitment to support iCare and keep the part-time clerk position in the budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Annalisa Rogers?
Good afternoon. My name is Annalisa Rogers. I live at 281 Party Road, zip code 14609. I just wanted to read a reminder of what the proclamation states for the town of Arundecoit. Whereas the town of Arundecoit strives to be a community that embraces its growing diversity, is inclusive to all, and treats every resident in an equitable manner, and whereas through proclamation on June 19th, 2020, the town board of the town of Arundecoit has affirmed that it is an organization committed to anti-racism in practice and through its policies. And whereas the town board wishes to develop policies, procedures, practices, and programs that aim to overcome systemic and structural iniquities. And whereas an organization that represents a diverse population like that in the town of Arundecoit must take a leadership role helping the community at large combat racism in all forms. And whereas the town board wishes to utilize the passion, experience, intelligence of stakeholders throughout the Arundecoit community to accomplish the objectives and above. And now let it be resolved that the town board supports the formation of the Arundecoit Commission Advancing Racial Equity, hereafter iCare, whose charge shall be to review, identify, develop, and recommend policies, procedures, and practices for the town board's consideration that will make the Arundecoit community more equitable. And let it be further resolved that iCare shall have 3 co-chairs and be comprised of no less than 15 members, all of whom shall live in the Arundecoit community or be employees of the town of Arundecoit, and whose majority composition shall be persons of color. And Let it be further resolved that iCare shall submit to the town board a report that recommends strategies and actions items for town government to consider that will strive to accomplish its core objectives of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And finally, let it be further resolved that the town board is committed to providing administrative support for iCare and intends for this commission to be a sustainable agent of positive charge for the town of Arundecoid. So declared on this day, the 20th of October, signed by former Supervisor David Seeley, John Perticone as Deputy Supervisor, Peter Warner, Council Member, Kimmy Romeo, Council Member, and Katrina Freeman, Council Member. I just wanted to remind us all that this is what we had agreed to do, and what we want to move forward in doing and continue to do for and in support of our community. And in order to successfully do that, we do need that position in the budget for 2022. Thank you very much.
Lisa Wall?
Good evening. My name is Lisa Wall, and I live at 417 Berry Road, 14617. I'm a member of the iCare Commission. Thank you for the opportunity to make comment regarding the upcoming budget and the apparent removal of funding for the administrative support for the iCare Commission. I moved to Arundecoid 20-plus years ago with my children. I moved here from my home in Albion, and I chose this place to live due to the positive things my research revealed about the West Arundecoid School District. Coming from Albion, I hadn't really heard or experienced the poor reputation that Arundecoid had, and unfortunately continues to have, as pertains to the way people of color are treated in this town. The children I moved here with are now adults. They were very successful in their educational pursuits and are all West Arundecoid school grads. My grandchildren, 2 of them, now attend West Arundecoid schools. That's the good side of the story. Our time here has not been without opportunities to witness and fall victim to the systemic racism that seems to be sewn into this town's fabric. That being said, I was encouraged when I saw the development of the iCare Commission. I thought it was a genuine effort to move in a positive direction as regards creating a more equitable and diverse Arundecoid. I no longer believe that. Removing this position from the budget demonstrates that the town's leadership has been disingenuous. But you have an opportunity to remedy that, to be people of your word. Add the administrative support line item back into the budget immediately. We are counting on you being genuine allies and not fake and phony opportunists pandering for relevance in the issue of the day. An organization's priorities can be best communicated by a review of what gets funded. Your removal of funding of this position is speaking volumes. Again, you have an opportunity to remedy that. Thank you for this.
Thank you. Nina?
Hi, my name is Nina Much, and I live on 166 Thorncliffe Drive, 14617. I'm 15 years old, and I was growing tired of seeing all the racial inequalities that are so prevalent in the world, in the news, on social media, and sometimes even in my school. And after the death of and following protests of George Floyd, I desperately wanted to get involved in making a change. My mom promised me we'd find a way. When she saw an ad come up for iCare, she showed me, and I filled out an application right away. I was honored to be offered an interview, and even more honored to be chosen to be a part as the first student representative. This is the only town I've ever lived in, and I was proud of my town for establishing iCare to work on equity and diversity in our town. I don't want to see us go backwards. I hope that all parts of iCare are protected in this budget, and we can continue to grow and make our town as equal and welcoming as possible for everyone of any race. Thank you.
Thank you. Amber Johnson?
Amber Johnson, 88 Lafayette Road, 14609. I just wanted to come and tell you that I'm embarrassed at our leadership. The actions of the last meeting in discussing the budget embarrassing. Councilmember Freeman tried to speak up about something that is important, and the looks and reactions are ridiculous. In a time where we should be throwing every dollar that we can find at diversity and equity and inclusion, we're squabbling over an $18,000 part-time employment. This person should have their job, the fund should be available already, and there should be more money going to things like iCare. It's that simple. Watching this meeting took me back 30 years. More. Fund iCare, fund this position. It shouldn't even be a conversation. I don't know if you realize, but people south of Irondequoit call the IPD Border Patrol, but we're hiring 3 more of them, and we can't pay a part-timer that's already employed. I think you're not committing to the promises that you put on that proclamation, and you need to follow through. This is the biggest thing in our time. This is the biggest thing happening right now, and we need to create equity and diversity and inclusion in Irondequoit. Thank you.
Reverend, is it Ruben? Sure.
Good evening. I erroneously signed in today to be a speaker. I'm just here to listen.
Okay, you just signed in the sheet, sure. Pastor, you as well, too? Okay. Well, first of all, thank you, everyone, for being here. Very respectful. I appreciate that. I'm going to make a statement, and, because I heard everybody, and now I'm going to just make a statement here.
John, quick question. Can I make a statement as well? Or is it just for input from the public?
It's just input from the public, and then I'll make my statement here. If anybody has any other comments before we close out, any other comments, please send them to the supervisor at irondequoit.org. If there's anything else, you want to send, we'll have that at least to the end of the week anyway. So I'd like to make a statement myself. The town board is very supportive of iCare's mission, of their quest for fostering a community that embraces diversity, equity, and inclusion. The proposed budget contains funding to ensure that the commission has the necessary administrative support it needs. The part-time position in question was always intended to be temporary, as we are going through a transition earlier in the year, and the previous staff member assigned to the commission and wanted to ensure iCare had support for the balance of the year. In fact, this part-time position was not reflected in the 2021 budget because the duties were assigned to a full-time staff member, a position that was fully funded in the budget. Again, we are not eliminating the administrative support that iCare has been receiving under this budget. We are simply putting that support under the staff position it was originally assigned to be, a part of a position that is funded in this budget. The previous supervisor was very upfront in communicating this to me from the beginning and prior to the departure, that the part-time position was always intended to be temporary. We look forward to working with iCare and ensuring it can deliver on its mission to better our community. We look forward to hearing from iCare about meetings and events as the community is asking, so that too can support the mission of iCare. I believe iCare is just getting off the ground. I believe it needs more time to mature, and I believe its mission is, we are very supportive, and I don't believe 6, 8, 10 months is enough for anything to get off the ground. So we are in complete support of iCare and its mission and the future of it. The position and your support is still going to be in this year's budget. It's only going to be to another full-time position. So, with that, please send and continue to send your comments to Irondequoit supervisor at irondequoit.org. Councilwoman Freeman, if you'd like to speak, you have the
Yes.
floor.
All right, thank you. To the board members and residents of the town of Irondequoit. Since former Supervisor Sealy announced his departure from the Irondequoit government, town support for the Irondequoit Commission Advancing Racial Equity, or better known as ICARE, and its commitments to the Commission's core objectives of diversity, equity, and inclusion have been waning, despite widespread support from town residents. These disappointing developments have come to a head as of late upon the acting supervisor's recent decision to cut ICARE's administrative support position of an Office 4 clerk from the 2022 proposed budget with no consultation with or input from the chairperson of ICARE, which I am, and any of its commission members. As of June 2021, ICARE asked for and received a report from the town's Human Resources Director regarding the diversity of town staff. This report revealed that out of a total of 288 full and part-time positions, only 17 of them are people of color, including the woman currently holding the Office Clerk 4 position related to ICARE, and as well myself as council member. ICARE was established by the town with the aid of community stakeholders with the core mission to advise the Arundecoit Town Board on how it can work to make make Arundecoit a community where each individual is respected, valued, and cherished, regardless of their race, ethnicity, religion, or cultural identity. This commitment to town residents requires sustainability and a certain level of autonomy for the commission in order to continue the progress that it has made over the past year. To date, ICARE has conducted 2 town department peer reviews, including IPD's plan in response to the governor's Executive Order 203 for police reform and reimagination, and the Arundecoit Public Library's diversification of its catalogs. Commission members have also led on the installation of the Acer Dunbar Historical Marker, which honors him as the first black settler in the area who owned land in Arundecoit and helped found a community here in the early 1800s. The planning and execution of the town's annual Juneteenth event held 2 implicit bias and diversity workshop trainings for the public and secured a direct grant from the Arundecoit Rotary Club, which funded several ICARE initiatives. Unfortunately, regardless of the commission's success thus far and its widespread support from the community, support from the town board began to diminish most clearly immediately after the departure of the former town supervisor. And seemingly, the more traction the commission was making in its work towards equity, starting within the walls of the town hall, the more measures were being implemented which served to impede its steady progress. The reasons for this decline remains unclear to me as ICARE's chairperson and also as councilwoman, and those who serve on the commission and the community members who support its work. We respectively demand that the position of Office Clerk 4 be restored in the adopted budget of 2022 town budget, and that the young woman currently holding the position remains whole in her employment with the town. The hiring of an Office 4 clerk to serve as an administrative assistant for ICARE Commission has been critical for all of the aforementioned progress of this commission. And needless to say, the cutting of this position only after 6 months threatens its ongoing success. Racial bias and the hard work of dismantling the related structural inequality starts at home, first with the town government and its employees and its officials. One of the guiding norms of the ICARE Commission is for its members and those it is advising is to stay engaged when it is uncomfortable. That is why we are asking of the acting supervisor and the full-time board, let this conflict and the forthcoming resolution be an opportunity for us all to remind ourselves of why iCare was founded and lean into the work of making Irondequoit a town for a lifetime for all its residents.
Thank you.
This position was a request that came as a request for interns to work with iCare. The former supervisor instead decided to have a part-time person. Never did he inform me or iCare that the position was going to be terminated in 6 months. Although I had assistance, John, from our constituent relation person, we had no idea that iCare would take off, and that is why we had a part-time person. I think it's just ingenuous to tell these folks that position was temporary, because the employee never was told that. Not by HR, not by me, and not by Supervisor Sealy. I want to thank everyone for coming out in support of the work of iCare and recognizing its importance. I am quite proud to be representing you on this town board. Thank you.
And I will say, because I'm going to comment, that it was supposed to be a temporary position, and I was told it was not going to be in next year's budget. So I move to close the public hearing, but to hold the record till noon on 11/12 to receive some more written comments. Feel free to send them out to supervisor@irondequoit.org. I need a motion to adjourn.
Moved?
Second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So opposed? So carried. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.